Good morning, Cardano community. Welcome to the Dapp Central YouTube channel. My name is Fareed, and today I'm joined by Jason Gao from the GENSX team. Good morning, Jason. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Fareed. I'm very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's the start of the week, so I've got my cup of tea right beside me, and we're going to be jumping into GENSX and what you guys are doing, so I'm excited about that. Now, what I'd like to do before we jump into any interview is just briefly touch on some of the points that we're going to be diving into, and then we'll get a little bit of background surrounding yourself, how you came into crypto, and exactly what GENSX is. So first things first, we're going to get, as I just mentioned, an overview surrounding GENSX, which is going to be a token launch platform building on Cardano with the plans of going blockchain agnostic. You guys also have some recent partnerships that I want to jump into surrounding that topic. Next, we're going to jump into some of the benefits of using a platform like GENSX, as well as some of the requirements and criteria that goes into joining or becoming a partner on your platform. After that, we're going to jump into talking about some of the specifics when it comes to transparency and security that you guys have in place, as well as some of the support and assistance you guys provide to onboarded projects. Closer towards the end of the actual call for today, we're going to jump into why you guys have chosen to become blockchain agnostic, and then your recent partnerships with two launchpads outside of the Cardano ecosystem. In closing of this video, we're going to be diving into the GENSX with a GENSX public token sale, which will be kicking off on June 29th. And then last but not least, we'll get your closing thoughts for the Cardano community. How does that sound, Jason?
Sounds perfect.
Without taking up any more time, do you mind giving us a little bit of background surrounding your experience, as well as an overview of what GENSX is?
Sure. I start with myself a little bit. So my career background was pretty much in the investment space. So I spent the last about 14 years doing private equity and venture capital investments, investing in different industries. At the very beginning, it's more about traditional industries like industrial, logistics, and over time, while we start having the tech booming, globally, and I start moving into other funds and making investment in technology industry, all type of technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, biotech, climate tech, and try different things, fintech, obviously. And I think my personal interest in crypto started about like 3-4 years ago. Very similar story to a lot of the DGens here. I think at the beginning you start hearing friends talking about it, more and more of them, and then you start getting curious and start reading the white paper for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, and really diving into different projects and applications. And I think in the last full cycle, we had a lot of new applications like DeFi, NFTs, metaverse, different stuff, and got curious about what hell all of this are about, and try to open your first account and did your first transaction, purchased your first NFTs, and made some money, lost some money. So similar stories, but I think the consequence of that is I got really fascinated about this industry. I had really had my conviction about decentralization, crypto, blockchain technologies. So about a year ago, I made a decision of professionally joining this industry on a full-time basis, and with the GENSX, because with my venture capital investment background, I'm very much used to and enjoy working with early stage startup projects, entrepreneur teams, and founders, helping them to to grow their business and build their product, find the product market fit, and on further rounds fundraising and stuff like that. So I hope to be able to continue to do something like that. So GENSX basically gives me the opportunity to do the thing that I'm passionate to do, but within the crypto and Web3 space. So I'm very happy about the journey so far. And regarding GENSX, I would say, just in short word, I think we're the crypto or Web3 industry's very first and only tokenized accelerator with a Launchpad as well. And we run a very unique evergreen model within the accelerators, where we work with early stage crypto projects and the founders, and help them from many different angles to in terms of building a product, developing their business, and going to the market and acquiring customers and users. and raising money both from private investors and from the public market by launching a tokenized business model all the way through publicly launching their tokens. That's where our Launchpad kicks in. And there are a lot of unique differentiations about our accelerator. I think one I just mentioned, we have a tokenized model, but I can talk a little bit more details about that, later when we discuss the GENSX token, because that's why a token is launched for GENSX. But for the startup teams or for the project owners, we're also unique because most of the accelerator run a cohort business model, meaning that they have seasoned admission, process, and they're not always open. And once you join and you have like 3 month programs with a lot of workshops, ending with a demo day, which are not very personalized or customized to the need of every project. We don't find that very valuable to a lot of founders. So we take the approach of customizing our service, our support towards every single project based on what exactly they need. And our engagement are typically long-term, or we remain there, available for them whenever they need, based on the different things we agreed at the beginning on what we will do or help do with the projects. So that's pretty much an overview of GENSX. And our accelerator works with about 15 projects right now, where we have an ambitious goal of growing the size of our project ecosystem to a much more number over the next few years. Our Launchpad had organized two token sales, both on Cardano right now, but I think going forward, we'll be doing this on both on Cardano and also on several other ecosystems that we'll be focused on. We can touch upon that, in one of the next topics about blockchain agnostic. But that's basically an overview about GENSX.
Thank you for that. And I can definitely relate to your activities in terms of coming into the space. So I always like to ask people that because, again, it gives you a little bit of insight as to, because people come into the space so many different ways, but how they came into not only crypto, but Cardano as a whole. Now, thank you for the introduction when it comes to GENSX. As you mentioned, they're going to not only be a launchpad platform, but also an accelerator program, onboarding early stage startups and providing them some of the tools and needs that they need to really get up and out into the crypto space. And again, branching outside of Cardano. Now, some of the things you guys offer, and correct me if I'm wrong, are going to be support surrounding fundraising strategy and execution, MVP and product development strategy, Genius ecosystem integration, marketing, legal entity setup, as well as one-on-one consultation meetings with industry experts and guidance on crypto and NFT. So quite a thorough list there and quite a bit of benefits, which we're going to jump into in just a moment. In regards to some of the platforms or some of the teams you guys have already onboarded, we've got the likes of Maestro, Smart Places, Iagon, which has really been gaining a lot of traction here over the course of the past week. We've got the Drunken Dragon Games, Rocket Fuel, Legity, which is going to be a DeFi platform, the Reach Metaverse, Fluid Tokens, and a few others. Now, I'll go ahead and provide the link to your guys' official website to any of the viewers watching this video if they're interested in finding out more about actually what you guys are doing and who you've already onboarded. So now that we understand what you guys are doing and some of the services, Jason, do you mind maybe touching on some of the benefits of a accelerator program as well as a launchpad?
Yeah, sure. I think so first, this business model, whether we talk about accelerator or a launchpad, is first a B2B business model, meaning that our clients or partners are basically other crypto projects, Web3 projects. But obviously, we have community is at the core part of our project as well through the tokenized model. But I think we can talk about that in one of the later questions. But I would explain the benefits of working with the GENSX from the project or from the B2B partner perspective. So basically, I think our team started with Genius Yield, as many of the Cardano community knows about. And the GENSX is the second project we decided to launch. And I think the reason behind it is our team is entrepreneur building a crypto project, meaning Genius Yield in the first place. So we've been through the entire process of how to figure out everything in the journey of building a project in Cardano and in the general crypto industry. So we have learned a lot of lessons as a team, building project, and we also get very good experience of how to do things correctly. And we have realized that basically for many entrepreneurs, project founders, developers, and there are many areas on the journey that you will potentially need support or advice or external help with, just so that you can minimize the potential loss you might incur during the journey, or maximize the value you're going to derive out of building your business. So I think that's the original rationale of building GeniusX. We want to have something that provides a real value to builders, developers. And we started within Cardano because the team is very well connected within Cardano, and we have first-hand experience of building product in Cardano. How is that different from other ecosystem? What's the challenges, and what are the unique value add you could seek as a project builders? So to summarize, I think all the benefits, I would basically say, like you just mentioned, Farid, you named a lot of things that we claim as a service we can provide. And that is the case because that's basically everything. We had problem as a team building Genius Yield. And we believe these are all these different things that could be valuable to different teams. And maybe everyone faces a slightly different problem depending on the experience and capability of their team and the stage of their project. Some early stage projects or a first-time founder, they don't even know how to even set up a legal entity, how to get in touch with the lawyer to get token classification and stuff. What kind of token you can actually launch without, with full compliance, what is not. We have some very inexperienced founders lacking even this level of experience. But we also have like more mature or experienced team with more mature product. They know what they're doing. They know how to navigate within the industry, but they don't have an internal marketing capacity. They don't have a network of investors to raise money from. So we could focus on those areas with those projects. So I would say, the benefit of joining GeniusX is that we really tailor our service and support towards the exact need of different project. And we make a lot of things available, basically, from the team members and from the network of the teams and from other partners. Like we have partner law firms, we have partner designers, we have partner investors, and banks and financial institutions. Many different type of partners, and we do a lot of things from our in-house resources as well. Like we have a very strong marketing team, community building team. We have a strong investor relations team that can help do with the investor outreach. And our team is full of entrepreneurs and professional, investors and builders and developers can advise on a lot of things, just on a first-hand basis. So we have a lot of things available, as you just named, but we tailor them towards the need for each project, and they don't have to get everything, but although they can. And I think the second thing is we're very flexible. We tailor to the need, because you as a project, you might need 10 things to be done by a service provider. We don't try to, put all of them, within like 3 months typical program, because we understand it could take 12 months or 2 years of your building journey to do different things like marketing, token launch, raising money. So we just need to make sure we do the right thing at the right point of time based on your need. That's why our engagement is long-term. And we're always there when you actually need something done at that point of time. And so the second part. And then the third part is a little bit related to Launchpad. So I think it is commonly the ultimate, unavoidable step for many crypto projects to launch their tokens to fully unlock the tokenized business model and involve their community to benefit from their project. So that's how we launched a Launchpad to help projects to organize their public token sale or their token launch, basically. And so that doesn't really mean just you raise money from the public investors with your tokens. Actually, more important, it also means you are really showing to the vast community that you're into the market, you're building, you're launching, and you're actually involving your community into your governance structure of the projects. So we have a Launchpad to help you organize that part. But there are many nuances that you need to consider in that process, like how do you actually ensure a successful token launch? How do you actually manage the transparencies across that process? And how do you actually reach the maximum level of marketing effect with the token launch? And how do you actually ensure like a strong price performance, price stability after the token listing? So there's a lot of details that we could help with as running a Launchpad business. And so, we just figure out a lot of projects are not experienced enough in imagining what it would look like post listing your tokens and what problem you could have. So we think that's also a very important aspect for a lot of tokenized crypto projects. And that's how we think we're adding value by running the Launchpad.
Thank you for such a clear and concise response there, Jason. You do an amazing job of not only conceptualizing, but executing on how you deliver this information in a really understandable way. One thing that I really like about what you guys are doing, and I think it speaks to what GeniusX is like, for example, within the Discord, you guys refer to yourselves as the Genius family, right? As you mentioned, you guys are building Genius Yield as well as GeniusX. And I think that's exactly what people get as an onboarded project. They really get a family, to the sense where you guys are able to assist them with everything and anything that they need to make it into space. Now, one thing that I do want to touch on, and we're going to jump into it a little bit more here, is going to be your Launchpad. And as I was listening to you, you touched on the fact that you guys have already had sales. So the Launchpad is available on the mainnet. And I believe your first sale was for the Genius Yield token, which is going to be the DEX, which I believe will be launching on the testnet in the coming month of August. You guys recently also had a sale for the Kajito token, which is going to be a stablecoin project as a part of the Singularity Net ecosystem. And so I was able to really watch and see how you guys executed on both of those. And I think one thing that really stood out to me was the amount of clarity as well as the ease of use for the platform. And so just two things there that I wanted to touch on and maybe elaborate on for some of the users watching this video if they're not aware as to where you guys are in terms of the steps for building out the Genius platform. So again, thank you for that. The next thing I want to jump into is going to be some of the requirements and criteria that you guys as GeniusX look into for potential prospects when you guys are thinking about bringing somebody in to your ecosystem. So could you maybe touch on some of the points that you guys are looking at, whether that is engagement, the size of the project, the experience of the project, some of the little nuances that you guys are looking for when you guys want to onboard somebody?
Yeah, sure. I think the short answer is we have a very rigorous internal due diligence checklist. So we review every application, or when we are in discussion with someone who are interested in joining GeniusX and working with us, we just we check through against this list of due diligence points. I think on the first level, in terms of we're pretty agnostic, so we're happy to work with any type of projects, applications, whether it's DeFi, it's NFT related, it's gaming or infrastructure. So anything I think we're happy to have, because from a portfolio perspective, because we are building a portfolio of our project ecosystems. So from that perspective, we value diversity. So we would be happy to have all different type of projects from all different verticals. But I think the second thing is from the general market perspective, we would like to follow the market. We would like to follow, where the key innovation drivers come from within the crypto industry. And so from time to time, I think if you're in crypto industry for a long time, you would observe there are different time horizons or different windows when certain verticals get really more innovation compared to the others. So I think that's obviously one consideration we need to have. Like at some point, people really value the foundational infrastructure type of projects. At some point, like people really see, DeFi is growing. There's more innovations on that, and the community has stronger vibes on DeFi. And at some point, maybe it's gaming, and things will change from time to time. So obviously, we take that into consideration because we just have to follow the market, and if we want to just grow successfully together with our ecosystem of projects. But when we look into every single project and in the process of making a decision, typically we look at a list of things. I think very similar to what a venture capital investor would look at. Basically, I think first thing we look at is the team. So we need to make sure there's like a capable team with a strong potential to build something successfully. So it doesn't really matter what products we're building, but we need a team that are fully committed into building the projects. And we need a team ideally with some track record of building something, meaning that they actually know the stuff. They're not just doing something they don't even know about. And we run very rigorous background check for every single onboarding, and we need to make sure the team is a proper team with like proper you know individuals that didn't have any problem before. And because I think that's an important uh, that's a very important thing, especially for the crypto industry, where they could be like rug and pulls like happening all the time. And the project may be young and they haven't launched, like they haven't got live on the mainnet, but I think we need to make sure through discussion interviewing with the team, they know what they're doing, they're capable of what they're doing. From a team structure perspective, they are able to develop the product based on what their business plan. And they are they're okay and comfortable with the listening to advice and taking suggestions, and being more cooperative instead of like defensive or independent from whoever trying to help them or work with them. So team is very critical for them. And obviously we learned lessons from some of the past experience, and I think that everything just further uh, always tells us like the team, are they capable, are they coachable, are they collaborative, is very important. And then otherwise, we look at the business side of the project. We look at what product they're building. Is there really a product market fit? Meaning that are they building a product that is actually needed by the market, by the consumers? And oftentimes the founders, imagine something great, but actually it's not really needed by the others. It's a very common problem we call product market fit problem with the early stage projects. So we can help, help the team assess a little bit on that end, but it's not unusual that for early stage projects, you have to refine your product market fit. Over time, you launch something on the test net and you communicate with your community and take inputs and really listen to people that is this something they find helpful or is important, and then you just refine that over time. So we're experienced team to guide through that part, but they need to start with the right basis. And obviously, do they have the right go-to-market strategy, meaning that they know how to sell the product? We have a lot of founders who say, okay, we have a great product, and therefore we're going to be making millions of revenues. But doesn't mean that. You need to know who to sell, how to sell. If you don't have anything in your idea, that could be problematic. Yeah, so I think that's our the key areas we're looking. Obviously, there are other points in our due diligence checklist, and like we look at their current traction, their partners, and what's the background of the founders team, what connection they already have that could be suggesting what value they could generate out of their own network, their own expertise, their own experience, and to find the fit between them and GeniusX. But I would say like team, product, and go-to-market strategy would be the most important areas that we will be looking at.
So it sounds like you guys have quite a lengthy list, which I think for an outside person investing into any platform that you guys are incubating or assisting is a really good thing, right? It gives us a lot of assurance and confidence in the fact that you guys have done your due diligence. And as you said, that whoever you're bringing on has an actual valuable product that the community can actually use. And so the next thing I want to jump into then is going to be surrounding some of the security and transparency, right, surrounding the token launch process. As you mentioned, there's a lot of projects that maybe just want to put a product out there for quick gains, or maybe put a product out there with no real intention of building, but just raising community funds. So what do you guys have in terms of the Launchpad portion of GeniusX in place to make sure that, number one, users are okay, but then number two, that the platform isn't actually gamed by anybody that you guys bring on board?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a very good question because I think we decided to start a Launchpad business, only sometime after we launched GENSX as an accelerator only project, because we realized Launchpad is an important component of the entire journey for tokenized startup projects, and with some unique synergies. But I think we, as a team, to be very honest, we also spent quite a lot of time exploring what should be the right Launchpad model. What's the best way, what's the best practice of running a Launchpad, considering the security, safety of the community? Because once you start bringing projects to the Launchpad and with the community, a lot of things could go wrong. And some of the things may not be even controllable to a Launchpad operators, like what exactly the projects we're going to do or potentially be doing. So I think the answer is there's always a risk, but we've been trying to see what's the best way to minimize the risk for our community and to bring the best transparency, security for them. And I think we've learned a lot of lessons. And when we just deployed the Launchpad for Genius Yield token in December last year, it's like a very initial version, but it's actually a very strong product based on the EUTXO ledger model of Cardano. So it has a lot of functions that the general Ethereum Launchpad doesn't have, like the order book based model and ability to handle oversubscription and use the smart contract 100% to taking the funds and refund the fund. But I think there are, over the last few months, and we've been exploring and talking to a lot of other launchpads who are running business in different ecosystem, and try to see what are the different policies and measures they're implementing just to protect their users. And I think we've learned a lot during that process. So that's why you don't see GeniusX Launchpad is trying to be very ambitious, launching many projects every month. Actually, we didn't do much intentionally because we want to make sure we are an expert in this business area. So we know how to do it correctly before we actually aggressively growing this part of the business. So I think with our learning experience so far, and we talked to a lot of project owners when we interviewed a lot of communities, and we interviewed other launchpads, and tried to determine what are the best things, best measures we can implement. So I would say from the transparency security perspective, especially taking into the interest of our community that would join the Launchpad sale, there will be several things we need to manage well. I think number one is obviously our own due diligence and review of the projects that we're going to launch on the GeniusX Launchpad. I think we do have a very strong or competitive strength on that end, is because our Launchpad is designed primarily for projects coming out of GeniusX Accelerator. It doesn't mean that we don't take projects from non-GeniusX Accelerator. We do from time to time, but we need to make sure they're mature enough projects, they're solid teams, and we also run due diligence on that. But for a lot of projects, actually, they will have been gone through our accelerator, meaning our team has put ourselves behind us. We've been working with them during several months of projects. So there's like natural extra level of trust or maybe quality assurance that we could bring to the comfort of ourselves, and then say, okay, so these guys are okay. They've been working with us for such a long time. They've been making progress, and we trusted their team. So now we think we could introduce them to the Launchpad towards our community. So I think that's something very unique about the GeniusX Launchpad, because I don't see many of the other bigger launchpads are running Accelerator plus Launchpad model. Some of them claim they're also incubating projects, but that's mainly about marketing, because usually as projects started as a Launchpad only, the things they're good at are marketing, but not too much different things. But our team started as entrepreneur and as accelerator operator first. So it's a very different. And I think the second part would be try to introduce different policies and measures to protect the interest of the community, especially depending on the market. So for instance, obviously communities join and public token sales in the hope of, the token price performance is going to be great, so they can realize some profits and gains from their investments. And so we will obviously, as a Launchpad operator, we want to avoid like launching a lot of projects, and then the token price is just going down, and instead of like community making some profits. But obviously market condition impacts everyone in the short term, so that's nothing we can control, nobody can control. And but still, I think there's something we could do. For instance, there would be measures of make sure the project who launched their tokens on the Launchpad has the right match between the initial liquidity provided by the project versus their initial market cap, because there's always like the token performance or token price is always a function of the buy and sell. So, and that's then this determined by the initial market cap, the initial liquidity. So we will advise and even make requests strongly on projects for going to the Launchpad and make sure they have the right mechanism within their token design or their tokenomics to have like a proper token performance in the short term as well as in the long term. And so that's one example. And there are other measures that we could consider introducing as well to protect the users' a benefit. So I think we're still looking into a lot of details, and I don't think there's any details I can talk just as a mature policy we have implemented so far. But I think there are a number of things we're considering to protect the community's interest when joining a potential IDO. And obviously, I think assessment of the team and background check of the team is important, looking into their roadmap and see who are the backers and what kind of community or, the level of community vibes they have already obtained by the time they're ready to prepare a token launch are a lot of things we will conduct a very rigorous due diligence on. So I think in summary that there are a lot of measures we are putting together, and we will continue to think about it and to how to ensure, relatively successful and sustainable business model for the Launchpad and to organize token launches.
So it sounds like it's an ever evolving process. As crypto grows, you guys will continue to figure out the best way to not only protect, but ensure that the projects are actually doing what they say they're doing. So again, really playing into the confidence of the community who are getting early access to some of these projects you guys are helping launch in and outside of Cardano. So on that note, let's actually talk a little bit about what you guys have done in the recent months. So you guys recently announced a expansion into the Polygon and Arbitrum networks, which for viewers who may not be aware are going to be running on Ethereum, so outside of Cardano. So what I would like to do is ask you, what is the reasoning behind the expansion of the GENSX platform, and what is the goal of becoming blockchain agnostic?
Yeah, so I think actually, if you look at a lot of accelerators or similar competitors of ours in the market, I think pretty much all of them are blockchain agnostic, because for Accelerator, for Launchpad, it's a very natural you're blockchain agnostic, because it's more like a consulting advisory business model, and you're not really deploying everything about Accelerator on a smart contract. So you're not really bound by blockchain, the underlying blockchain ecosystem. And obviously being a blockchain agnostic just gives you the maximum level of flexibility of capturing growth opportunity. We started in a unique model that we only focus on Cardano because again, our team comes from Cardano. We built Genius Yield on Cardano. So we think we have a very deep ties with the Cardano community and the ecosystem. And we hope to be always here supporting Cardano ecosystem for its growth. And so I think people knows about that. But I mean, especially in the bear market, I think whenever ecosystem grows, relatively slow, and we think we have a pretty strong position within Cardano ecosystem. We're well known to the community here, to the projects. We're pretty well covered to be able to onboard any of the next, wave of strong, high quality Cardano projects, it's something that we'll be continuing to do over time. But just at the current moment of the time, I think the best ideas for us is to follow the market if you want to capture extra growth opportunity. Because again, we have to think about the ultimate value driver of the GENSX tokens, because that's exactly where the interest of our community lies in. We need to maximize that part at any point of time, instead of, okay, so now it's a bear market and we don't see as many new projects building on Cardano as in the bull markets, then let's just stop here. So we don't want to do that. We want to just look into other ecosystem to see if there are any more growth opportunity we can capture. Is there more value we can derive from outside of Cardano and bring them back to our community in terms of the benefit? So I think that's the fundamental rationale behind the idea of growing, expanding outside of Cardano. And so it's not a pivoting, it's not moving, because we want to keep our position on Cardano forever. And we believe in the next bull run, Cardano is going to have high growth. There will be a new wave of good projects, startups building on Cardano, and we'll be here supporting them. I want to be the go-to partner for all of them. But just in I think at the moment of time, the team will have a little bit more bandwidth to look at non-Cardano ecosystem as well. And we have to follow the market. And as a accelerator, you look to work with the best founders, the best projects. So, wherever they go, I think, there's a strong reason for us to explore. So I think for a number of reasons, we see a strong popularity in terms of attractiveness to new developers, new builders. With some of the other ecosystems, we actually looked into all of them. We spent like months, doing a strategy piece and see what's the most lucrative or interesting ecosystem for us to look into besides Cardano. And I think the general Ethereum layer 2 it's an area that seems attracting a lot of founders and new builders. We hope to work with those projects, and that's why we decided we have to look into this ecosystems. We actually had discussion with many ecosystem foundation stakeholders, so way more than just the Arbitrum and Polygon. I think we talked to probably 7 and 8 of them, but some of them, they're not very welcoming or collaborating, or we don't have trust in even with their ecosystem foundations. For some of them, they're interesting, but we think they're maybe too early, not mature enough. But some of them will probably get more popular next year. So we're ready with them, but it's just not the right time this year for us to work with them. So looking at everything together, we kind of determine Arbitrum and Polygon are, relatively interesting ecosystem for us to, as the first, places for us to move into. And also we had a lot of discussion with the foundation, with Arbitrum foundations, with Polygon Labs, and there are partnership discussions with them, and they're relatively also welcoming for us to expand over there to support their startup ecosystem in the way that we've been supporting Cardano. And I think one example with Polygon is that we're in discussion with a potential featured service provider or stakeholder in their new request for startups. It's basically a developer relationship, new ecosystem initiative, but they want to bring in like accelerators and investors into the ecosystem to be featured as a partner. And with Arbitrum, like we actually got tapped into like a community channel and meeting with a lot of startups there, and to talk about our offerings and solutions. And also, I think we're encouraged by the Arbitrum team to actually deploy a Launchpad to help the Arbitrum-based projects to organize token launch and stuff like that. So there are partnership collaborations in the background being discussed with them, and that's why we think they're kind of the right place to expand as a first move. But we're a small and lean team. We're not going to be crazy going everywhere. And I think the number one goal for us is always to maintain our position and our with our brand name on Cardano and further grow that. And but as a new extra value growth opportunities, in the short term, we're going to be focused on likely Arbitrum and Polygon. And But then maybe later we'll look at others, but I don't think it's going to be this year or even like the first half of next year, because we want to make sure we build traction everywhere we go first before we just announce a lot of expansions, uh, but without like strong focus or a right priority of doing things.
I really like your guys' slow and steady and methodical approach. I think that's one thing that a lot of projects, as you mentioned earlier, don't really keep into account. They more or less are looking to get as much exposure as quickly as possible. And I think sometimes that can actually be to their own detriment. So the fact that you guys are looking to make sure that you guys are number one, building a solid product, but then also making sure that you're doing it at the right time, I think is going to be key. And I couldn't agree with you more. Polygon and Arbitrum have not only been building, but they've got an amazing community, which kind of mimic or echoes what we have here in Cardano. So I think those are really two key players to keep an eye on. And I also just want to reiterate this for the viewers, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys already have a Launchpad platform native to Cardano, which we'll be talking about here in just a moment in regards to the GENSX public token sale. But you're also looking to build a native platform on Arbitrum and Polygon. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And but we're doing this step by step, and because um, I think one thing our team has been doing good at is managing the resources and try to be as much efficient as possible with the resources, in relation to what we're trying to deliver as product. And we will have a native, I would say native Ethereum Ethereum virtual machine compatible Launchpad to be deployed. And theoretically, it will be able to support multiple networks that are EVM compatible. But the first one we will integrate will be Arbitrum, because linking to our expansion plan. And the next one will probably be Polygon, and there will be others we could potentially consider. And we have found a very good technology partner, which is Kaizen Finance, and they're a very well-known development group of launching, all the tokenized like platform and stuff. So they're actually behind a lot of the very famous, launchpads and other projects. So we find a way to actually make this available at a very minimum level of cost, because we want to just make the best use of the financial resources that we got supported from investors from our community. But the answer is yes, we do have a native launchpad ready. I think actually already, but it's going to be used to host the GENSX token sale as well. We're going to reserve a small allocation for that, just to show to the community that we are able to deliver a product as we promised. And yeah, but the answer is yes. So it will be, you can find it on GENSX website. So just on the Launchpad section, you will see a new icon. So before it's just Cardano, but now you can see, you can go to connect with the Cardano network, or you can connect with the Arbitrum network with that Launchpad.
Thank you for that. And that actually caught me by complete surprise when I checked out your guys' website to get some of the details surrounding the upcoming Genius public sale. And I saw those two additional networks listed there. So again, congratulations to you guys. And I'm very excited for the exposure that GENSX is going to be getting over the course of the next few weeks. Now, I don't think that this should come to a surprise by anybody. We've seen so many other projects building in Cardano also reaching out of the ecosystem. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're leaving. It's just that they're expanding their horizons, right? So we've got, for example, World Mobile, Meld, the Turf NFT, Dan Ketsu, which I believe is one of the projects you guys actually host, as well as Book.io, who are all also doing things in the ERC or Ethereum ecosystem. So I think that's going to be the future. I know that for some people that may be a tough pill to swallow, but I think it's really good in terms of exposure and expansion. And that's what it's going to have to come down to, right? Cardano, as you mentioned, is a blockchain that we all really like, but it's not the end all be all. There's other chains with other opportunities that may not necessarily be here within Cardano. But as we get ready to kind of land the plane here, there is one thing that we have to talk about, and that is going to be your upcoming GENSX public token sale. Now, this will be kicking off on June 29th, and as you mentioned, not only will this particular token be available on Cardano, it's also going to be available on Polygon and Arbitrum. Now, over the course of the past week or two, I have been covering it here on the channel, but do you mind maybe talking about, number one, what the public sale is going to be offering, and then number two, some of the benefits and utility for the GENSX token?
Yeah, sure. I think just a quick overview on the ideal or the public token sale, and so it will be hosted on three. Actually, I would say, let's say four launchpads, but actually three. But within GeniusX, because we're allocating some tokens on the Arbitrum network and some on the Cardano network, so it feels like two, but it's a three launchpads, and uh, I think a little correction to what you just said. We're not offering any token on the Polygon network. So for GeniusX, we're going to offer the tokens on both Cardano and on Arbitrum. And for Cardano, we're going to organize a sale on GeniusX Launchpad, so our Cardano native Launchpad. I think community should be relatively familiar with. So you go to the you can go to the site and check the information on that. And I think we started at like 1 p.m. UTC on the 29th of June, and it's going to last for about 48 hours, so 2 days. And so that's going to be an allocation reserved for our Cardano community, and meaning you can connect with your Cardano wallet and use the ADA to participate. So everything that you are familiar with, like always. And but also actually a majority part of the idea will be allocated on the Arbitrum network. And the reason behind is that we have realized within the Cardano community, we have a lot of existing investors and supporters already. So because the ISPO tokens that we have reserved for distribution to the ISPO investors is actually 25% of the entire token allocation. So our understanding is that the investor support from the Cardano community is pretty much already there, and it's very strong. And but for the public sale, because we're a Cardano origin project, so we have to make things available always for our Cardano community. But simply because of our expansion and we're acquiring new community members, users from the Arbitrum or general crypto ecosystems, and we have a lot of questions and coming to, okay, so we don't have experience about Cardano. We don't know how Cardano wallet works, and can we participate on the Arbitrum or some other network and just use MetaMask wallet as Ethereum thing? So then we figure that because it's also critical for us to build up our new community associated with our expansion plan of outside of Cardano. So we think it makes sense to allocate a sufficient amount of the tokens to in the public sale on the Arbitrum network, and also to try our very new Arbitrum Launchpad, and just as an experiment, because we want to experiment with ourselves before use that for other projects. And I think the point of partnering with the Red Kite Launchpad and the Arbipad, two very much established launchpads in the non-Cardano ecosystems, is also a way for us to get our names, got our reputation, out there to the non-Cardano community. And also, Red Kite is a very established launchpad from Southeast Asia. They have huge, scale of community, and Arbipad is backed by, the famous blockchain gaming platform team, Good Game Guilds. And so a very well-known team, and they built a launchpad specifically for Arbitrum network as well as for ZK Sync and a few more. So we see the benefit of potentially partnering with other launchpad to co-host or co-launch projects, ideals going forward, and just to maximize the community outreach for every project. So that also marks the starting point of our partnership with them, with our own sale. So again, I think number-wise, we have planned for about 200K of raise with Red Kite, 200K with Arbipad, and then we have another, I think, more than 300K that will be going to reserve for our own community. Half of that will be on Cardano Launchpad, GeniusX Launchpad for Cardano, and the other half will be the new Genius Launchpad that supports Arbitrum, just as like a testing projects. So I would encourage everybody to check our announcement we just made with a lot of detailed information on the token launch. So there'll be time and dates, like how you participate. But I think basically, all the sales, so the time of the sales on different launchpad are not necessarily exactly the same, but I think all of them start on the same date. But it's just going to run for a different length of time. And but everyone will finish within 2 days, basically, and some even finish within like 24 hours. And then we have a planned token listing for the following Monday or the 3rd of July. To be that's what we are thinking, but I think we still have to really announce the exact time, which we'll do probably this week. And I suggest everybody to follow our social media account to check in the details.
Thank you very much for that. I've got a few questions here. So one of them being kind of tied back to the expansion to going multi-chain. And I do apologize for that mix up there. I think I got a little excited about what you guys are building on Polygon, but thank you for the clarification. So let's say that I purchase some of the GENSX tokens on Cardano, and I'm maybe looking to move it outside of Cardano. Right now, I know that there's platforms that I've already partnered up with, the likes of Multichain or ChainPort, which are going to be bridging platforms. Do you guys also have plans to allow for some of these tokens to be transferred in and out of these different ecosystems, or is it something that you guys are still kind of maybe working on behind the scenes?
Yeah, so it's been figured out already and it's live. So we actually, because I think you're absolutely right. So a bridging services allowing the tokens to move here and there, if different, towards different ecosystem is critical for a project like ours. And I think our team firstly discussed this with the uh, um, Milko Meta team. So because I think it's part of the Cardano family and we know them well, we want to work with someone we trust. And so they do have like a bridging project, and actually they are supporting Arbitrum, but I think only one way, not the others yet. And so we try to work with them, but I think given the time frame that we're having, it's we really need that to be live like very soon. And it seems like it's going to be challenging for their team, but they have kindly introduced us to ChainPort, and which we are basically the service that we're using. So they have like a live available service for two-way bridging with Cardano and Arbitrum, Polygon, any other ecosystems. And also we looked into their bridging technology, and I think we got some advice from the Milko Meta team as well. They're kindly helping us to look into that. And then we concluded they have a quite secure bridging solution compared to a lot of the others, because we're concerned with the very centralized bridging service. They're going to just use someone to hold your tokens, completely in a centralized way. But they have some good technologies to add several layers of security. So we've been working with them for the past, I think, 2 months, figuring this out. And now there is a bridge, built between Cardano and Arbitrum. And we have already successfully bridged the GENSX token from Cardano to Arbitrum. And the bridge will allow for the other way around. So if people purchased or get GENSX tokens on the Arbitrum network, and they will be allowed to bridge through the ChainPort bridge and get their original the original version of the Cardano token. So our token is Cardano native token, so that's the original token, and there will be a wrapped, like I wouldn't say wrapped, but it's like a bridged format on Arbitrum, and you can just bridge here and there 2 ways. So it's already live. We tried it ourselves, and because we had our TGE, meaning that we're the creation, the minting of the Cardano native tokens last week, and right after that, we have tested the bridge, and it's working fine. And we are already bridging some of the tokens to Arbitrum right now to be able to host the Arbitrum-based token sale for Thursday.
Congratulations to you and the entire team. I know that that was probably a huge milestone, right? Again, fitting into your plans of being blockchain agnostic and offering your services on so many other chains. That really is something that I'm excited to hear about. Now, I cannot let you go off of this interview without asking you one more question, and then we're going to get your closing thoughts. So, the very last thing I want to kind of pose to you is, for somebody who's looking to invest in GeniusX, what is the actual benefit or utility of the GENSX token? I know, by looking at their project, there's going to be two key takeaways, but I would love for you to maybe touch on what some of the GENSX stakers receive in terms of utility for the token.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a good question to talk about our unique tokenized accelerator model, because I mentioned that I think we are the industry's first and only tokenized accelerator. So because I think usually accelerator is typically sponsored by investors or corporates, and they will never issue accelerator token because corporates or investors setting up accelerators for their own benefit of tapping into early stage projects, before their usual stage of participation. But they, through the accelerator, they get access to projects and founders, and then so that they can negotiate like a bilateral deal of whatever kind with them. But usually, as an average investor or community member, there is no way you can get involved in this process. But we want to design and accelerate unique accelerator that are completely community oriented, meaning that we're not sponsored by any corporates investors, but we're sponsored by the community. And in order to achieve that, we launched the GENSX tokens. And the key utility of the token is that by staking the GENSX tokens, you're actually going to get a revenue share of the accelerator as well as the launchpad. So on the launchpad side, and also part of the accelerator, because we also advise projects for private round fundraising, for which we sometimes charge a success fee. So, and all of the launchpad for other projects to go to the launchpad and organize sales, and there will be commission charged by the launchpad. So for these fees and commissions, 20% of that will be distributed to the stakers of GENSX tokens. So that's one part. The other part, which is I think the most innovative part that we have designed, is that we would allow for also 20% of the portfolio sharing to our community, meaning the stakers of GENSX, because GeniusX Accelerator business model is that aside from the fees that we're going to charge on fundraising or token launches, we will also charge a small percentage of the total token supply of all the projects we work with. We accelerate, we provide advisory services to. And now we have 15 projects, and over time, we're going to add more and more. And so we have an ambitious goal of having maybe 80 to 100 projects in 5 years of time. So this will call that a GeniusX project ecosystem or our portfolio, because GeniusX will be owning tokens of all these 100 projects in the next 5 years. And we're going to share 20% of that to stakers of GENSX. So what that means, if you hold GENSX tokens and you stake it in our staking vaults, you're going to get irregular distribution of other projects tokens or stable coins that are usually linked to backed by the fees we charge on the launchpad on the fundraising. And because we work with many projects, but obviously not all of them will make the success stage of launching a tokens, because in traditional venture capital industry, there's like only 20%, maximum 20% of success rate. But I think for us, we've done that much better than that already. And many of our projects will be moving to the token ready stage, meaning they're going to generate tokens. So that means if you stake the GENSX token, you could get distributed off tokens of many projects, up to maybe not 100, but like I think, let's say half of that are made into the token launch stage. And that's free. So because we're sharing with you, not obviously not for free. You're our community member, you support our project, you purchased our tokens, you stake our tokens, you don't dump it, and that's the contribution you bring to our project. So that's what we give you back as a reward, or let's say as a dividend for holding a stock. So I don't see any accelerators doing this model. So this is something very unique we have designed. So I would call it, it's a tool token that you stake it and you're gonna get distributed to a share of the fees and a share of the portfolio we have.
Thank you for that in-depth response again. Really bringing a lot of clarity here for not only myself, and I'm sure for the viewers. And so just to make sure I understand, you guys will be redistributing 20% of the GENSX Launchpad fees rewarded in GENSX, as well as sharing some of the tokens from the platforms that you guys launch back with the community. So people will essentially be getting exposure to the tokens from the platforms you guys are helping to assist and launch, right? So that could really get interesting. Again, if your Launchpad will now be expanding outside of Cardano, right? As a GENSX staker, you might now have access to tokens on Ethereum that you wouldn't actually have direct access to, but because of GeniusX and the Launchpad and the fee distribution model, you'll now have the ability to kind of dip your toes into some of those projects again, making sure that they're vetted, that the community trusts them, etc. So I think a really key benefit there and a very unique selling proposition. Another thing I wanted to also mention too, and I think for the sake of time, we won't really have a lot of time to dive into this, but you guys also have a GeniusX ISPO NFT, which I believe will also act as a booster for stakers, right? I think there were 3 of them that came out, each of them offering a certain level of a boost for any gen stake for, I believe, a period of about 12 or so months. But I just wanted to highlight that there. I think there's a few different key offerings that you guys provide, and the fee generation and fee distribution is a unique one that, as you mentioned, you don't normally see on other launch pads. So we are coming up here, Jason, at the 1 hour mark. I do want to respect your time, and I do thank you very, very much. I think the very last thing I want to just ask you is, for anybody who wants to get involved with the GENSX public sale, how can they do that? And what are your closing thoughts here for the Cardano community watching?
Yeah. So I think short answer to the first question is that I just encourage everybody to check our announcement on the IDO to see how you can participate in the GENSX token sale. But as quickly mentioned before, that we organize that across multiple launchpads. But I think here, since we're addressing mainly the Cardano community, so that's going to be on the GeniusX Cardano Launchpad. It's going to be, you can find that on our website, and it's the process you will be familiar with, using your ADA, joining the process. So it's going to last for 2 days, starting from Thursday, and but obviously for non-Cardano community, or for someone who want to test the Arbitrum Launchpad, and there are different places you can go with our new EVM Launchpad, even with Redkite, with Arbipad. You could purchase the Arbitrum-based GENSX tokens as well. But I think there will be a price parity on that, so it's going to be the same. And once you have the token, you can bridge, here and there. So there will be no difference, no marginal benefit here versus the other. Yeah, so that's how you could potentially participate in that. And again, I think appreciate your time, Fareed, and thanks. And I think my closing thoughts, to be very short, is that we want to let community know that we're here to build in the long term. Project acceleration, Launchpad, everything is not a short-term business. It's a long-term business. It's just like making venture capital investments. If you're familiar with the venture capital industry, because I come from this industry before, every single VC fund has a horizon of like 8-10 years, because it takes time for people to find the right project to invest in, and to curate them, to help them to build success over time, and until they reach a liquidity point of time and deliver the return back to the investors. So we hope that we can really gather a community that appreciate our long-term vision, and we can be transparent. So if you are looking for like a very short-term gains within the next 6 months, maybe GeniusX is not really a project for you to look into, because again, our model is to find the best teams and best projects to work with, and for a period of time, help them to build success, launch their tokens, and then realize a lot of values through this process, of which we're going to redistribute to our community or the stakers of GENSX. We're in a bear market today. it's not easy, but to be honest, it's not necessarily bad for us because in the bear market, it's actually easier to tell good projects from the bad ones because a lot of noise has been erased from the bear market. And we're very confident we're going to continue to accumulate high quality projects within the next 6, 12 months, or even longer term. And many of them will start maturing at some point of time and to translate into values and benefit we can bring back to the supporter of our projects.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Gao with a wonderful representation of the GENSX platform being an accelerator as well as a launchpad being multi-chain or blockchain agnostic. Jason, I can't thank you enough for all of the alpha and all the information that you've dropped on us here. I look forward to having you here on the channel. And for any viewers who've made it this far into the video, if you guys are looking to find out more about GENSX and what they offer, go ahead and check out the description down below, where I'll leave all the links to the GENSX platform, as well as all the links and details surrounding their upcoming public token sale being hosted on Cardano and Arbitrum. Again, Jason, I thank you for your time. I look forward to having you on the channel in the near future to talk about what you guys are going to be building and expanding, especially as the launch on Polygon comes to a close. So with that said, we'll be in touch. And again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for it. Thank you for having me here. And thank you to the audience and the community.